Setting up your live. I'll let you know in a second if I see us live. It should work fine. Redirecting, says it's done. So I think that we are live now. Yes, we're live. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm so excited about today. It's really like such a pleasure. What a joy to get to have this moment. You know, as somebody who works with people and has gotten to meet thousands of people, you know, certain people come along and you're like, you're the reason I do this. Like, you're the reason I show up because I want to help people just like you, exactly you. Like, you are who I had in mind because I want you to be shining your light in the world because it's so obviously such good stuff. So today we're just going to have a conversation because I think that sometimes, you know, hearing the stories of the Howard Schultzes and the Bobby Browns and the Jenna Fishers and the Rob Lowe's, those are cool things. And I think that we step back and we're like, wow, like there's like an awe around like, wow, you're able to make $3 billion a year. Wow, but it's not necessarily something we relate to necessarily. So I think hearing about people who are just like you and me, who have creative dreams, who have big hearts, who didn't come with like a silver spoon, you know, who kind of had to like figure it out. And to see them taking action, to see them changing the way they believe about themselves, to see them changing the way they believe about showing up in the world, and then actually seeing them succeed, I think that's pretty darn inspiring. So I want to share with you their stories. I want them to get to share their stories. And then if there's anything that we can do to keep supporting you guys in this challenge, we're here for it. So if you have questions about not just the program itself, like if you have just questions about how did you overcome that? Or, you know, what do you really think made the difference for you? And then of course, yeah. And if you have if you have questions about the program, we can also answer that too. But why don't we just go sort of around? We'll start with Sadie, because you're on the top of my screen. And I love you. I love your story. I love what you do. I love your bravery. I love how generous you are. I love that that's the reason you built a business, was from being generous. Why don't you tell everybody where you were 5 months, 6 months ago, and what's happened over the last 6 months?
Yeah, so 5, 6 months ago, I had no business. I had no presence online. I had I had my part-time job. That was my way of making money. And like, that's it, right? So looking back at 6 months ago, like I had no idea where I was going to be now. It's incredible to me. I cannot believe it. And at the beginning of every month, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to make money? And then it just happens. And like, I just like do my thing and go on Instagram and put offers into the world. And then like the money just comes in and it's just crazy. Crazy.
Do you know that looking at you now and all of us have known you for a little while, and like you, every time I talk to you, you're more and more in your skin. Like I feel like there's a confidence. You feel it? It's in your smile. It's in your shoulders. Let's go back to where you were before that confidence. Let's just talk about what the facts on the table were in terms of your husband's job. There was COVID, in terms of your self-doubt about not having gone to art school. And then let's talk about how you started and what you were able to build.
Yeah. So a big question I get all of the time is, Sadie, how do you show up? How do you just like get that confidence, get on your Instagram and just talk like it's no problem for you? And people are like, I'm not you. I can't do that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. In January, that wasn't me either. Like there was a girl in my group in the program that she wants to be a business coach. So she said, hey, like, I'd love to coach you on something. Can we hop on a Zoom call? And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, because I wasn't confident in the way I looked. I wasn't confident in the way I talked. I just wasn't confident. Right. Yeah. So a Zoom call one-on-one, I was like, I really don't want to do that. But I did it. And I remember I was like so nervous. I like put makeup on for no reason and made sure my hair was done and made sure the camera angle was right. And like just all of these things that was just like so extra. So what I tell people is like that raised my upper limit just a little bit, right? So I started with one-on-one Zoom calls, and then I started with like group calls, And then I started going live on Instagram, and then I started showing up on my Instagram stories. And then like, it just like kept getting like a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. Like, and then I was on your podcast, right? With millions of listens, like millions of people listen to that. And that's crazy to me, you know? But it didn't start like that. In January, if you would have said, hey, do you want to be on the Don't Keep Your Day Job podcast? I would have been like, no, absolutely not. Like, I can't talk. I can't tell people about myself. I don't want to do that. But it just takes like raising your upper limit a little bit, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. And then all of a sudden you've come so far and you're like, wow, like, why was I so afraid to just get on a one-on-one Zoom call?
Yeah, totally. So what was it like for you when you did that challenge? Like, how did you have the courage to sign up for this program? Because I know like things were really hard, and boy, did they turn around, but you didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah. So my husband and I had been watching the lives in the challenge, and he had a successful business at the time. Little did we know 3 months later that wouldn't be the case. So we had been watching the challenge, and we were really focusing on his business. Like, that was our number one
Oh my
priority.
God, I never knew that even.
Yeah. So he said, he was like, I don't think this program's right for me, but I really think you should do it. And I hadn't even considered that. I thought, we're going all in on your business. This is for you. You should do this. And then he said, no, I want you to do this. Right. And before that point, I had been like a little bit scared to ask him. I was like, just a little bit like, I know I want this, but am I allowed to want this? Right. So he came to me and he said, okay, we're going to sign you up because I know you have something more to offer. And then 3 months later, we had no idea at the time, 2 or 3 months later, when the coronavirus happened, his business wasn't existent anymore. And that's what we relied on, was my business. So if we wouldn't have made that decision, my whole life would be different. I probably would have been moving in with my mom. We probably would have had to give our dog to some relatives, like, because my mom wouldn't let us have the dog at her house. Like, it's just like this whole thing that, like, if I wouldn't have done this, my life would have been different. You know how you say, like, if you turn 2 degrees differently when you're in the ocean, you end up in a completely different place. The program was my 2 degrees. And if I wouldn't have taken that 2 degrees, I don't know where we would be.
It's just amazing. I mean, I knew part of that story, of course, but the part about how it was really about him. And then he said, I think you should do this. And little do you know what's coming around that corner. And I do remember in the middle of the program when his business was really kind of bottoming out, and you were like, you guys, like, I have to step up, and like, I don't know if I can do it. But what happened? Tell everybody because I mentioned you during the 5-day challenge. I mentioned you all the time. You're such a superstar. And I was always just so impressed with you because you do that ABG, always be generous, and tell people what you were doing with your logos and how you were showing up in the group and what you were offering and how it started, because that is everything.
Yeah. So it started out small. And little by little, people started seeing what I was doing and getting more and more interested. And I just started like showing up more, right? I think when the program ended, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, without all of this guidance, like, what do I do? Is this even going to work? And then the program ended. And the next day I just did the same thing I did the day before. And I was like, oh, this all makes sense now. Yeah. Like, literally the same things I've been doing for the last 3 months, I just have to do now. And then the money will just come in. Like, it'll just happen, you know?
That's amazing.
Yeah. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Well, I want everyone to know what you do. So Sadie creates branding, logos. She can design a website. And so she started reaching out, just like even in the program, saying like, oh, I could design a logo for you, or I could put together colors for you and give you like a sense of like, because branding is so important, right? It tells a story, it communicates so much, it heightens the vibe, right? There's something consistent about it. And we don't realize how often why do people spend more on Coca-Cola than on generic, whatever, cola? There's something about that branding that's really inviting and consistent, and it builds a know, like, and trust factor. So we all know that, right? And now Sadie teaches all of that. She does workshops too on branding and how to get people to buy from you and how to bring people in. But in the beginning, she was like, I never went to art school. Who am I to charge for this? But let me just start offering to help people, right? And what happened? How many people took you up on that offer, that first offer?
I think like 4 or 5, but 90% of those people that I gave free things to came back and have paid me,
Yeah.
right? So this crazy thing happens, and this always happens to me. When I give something away for free, I end up making money.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. And what wound up happening is she wound up making, I think if I'm quoting this right, like $10,000 in a very short time. It may have been like within a month or 6 weeks or something. It like was really a short amount of time. And I remember getting on the call with you right in the middle of that process. And I said to you, you know, what are you charging? And you told me your rates. And I was like, you are, you know, so worth more than that. And you started to have the courage to just keep putting out more. And how many clients have you had since you started charging for what you do?
A lot, a lot. So what
10,
happened?
20, 50? How many do you
I
think?
mean, probably at least 20. And I've had so many clients that I've had to hire someone. So like I've started to build a team, and I'm like, that wasn't something I was planning on doing in January. That wasn't something that I had ever planned to do, was hire someone. Just crazy. Blows my mind crazy.
It is crazy. And it's amazing. And you're now, tell us what your offers are. Tell us the 3 or 4 offers that you have at the moment.
So right now I have limited to just 2. I was getting a bit overwhelmed with doing websites. And even though that was my biggest package, it was just getting a bit overwhelming. So I've put a pause on designing websites right now. So right now what I'm doing is full branding package, logo, submark, and then one step up from that just has a few extras that's like just fun stuff that we can throw in that I know you'll love, that I know you'll use. Yeah, so just right now I just have the 2 offers, but I'm hoping to start websites up again maybe at the end of the year as we get closer.
Yeah.
So, and then I also do workshops. So I've done a couple of branding like masterclass where we go through your brand pillars and your mission statement and your vision statement and how we can use those things to actually help you make money, and use those things to create your content and use those things to create your offers. Because everyone says like, oh, you should brand yourself. Make sure that you brand yourself as such and such. But what does that do for you? If you don't know how that's going to make you money, what is even the point of doing it? There's no point. So what I teach my students is we are going to nail down all of the information, and then we're going to use that information to actively make you money.
It's so great. And, you know, I think a lot of people have this thought of like, you know, such scarcity that they're like, but there's no clients now, especially during COVID. How could I dare, charge someone? And you've made all this money during COVID. Like you've only known how to make money during COVID. So it just goes to show you that these stories they're really just stories. And we have to choose new lenses because, right, like what we believe then determines the action. So if we believe that there's just scarcity and nobody can afford it, we're never going to put ourselves out there. Why would you ever dare do that? But when you know that there's something on the other side and there's people who need you. And I love what you said about just to keep continuing to increase your upper limit and one step at a time, and you just get more and more confident. And all right, well, we're going to come back to you, but I love that story. Thank you for starting us off with such a great one. We're just going to go in sort of this order that's on my screen. So Jillian, tell us about you. Tell us about, I've mentioned you before also because you sent me some of your stuff and I love it. And I just think it's such a special, it's special to me because you're a maker, and it also just like really, I think, serves such a meaningful, you know, especially in the world right now, what you do, I think there's like a movement to it. And it's really important. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you even came up with your offer and what it is that you do?
Yeah. So first, I just want to say I have a tear in my eye from Sadie because I obviously have been following Sadie along since the beginning of Made to Do This. And I am also one of her clients, and I just love her to death. I'm a huge fan too. I follow all her Instagram stories. So yeah, when I started Made to Do This, I had an idea of what my business was. I actually had just applied for my sole proprietorship. Like I had a whole idea, and I also had a goal. I knew that I wanted to be doing this full time by November of 2020. And so I started the program, and I was originally intending on my one offer of my business was going to be wedding stationery, letterpressed wedding stationery. So I own a vintage letterpress. He's amazing. His name is Gordy. He's 133 years old, and he chills out in my garage, and we get to work together, and I love it. And so that was my plan. That was my ambition. And then in kind of the beginning of the program, COVID happened. And, you know, I had all of these things on my calendar, like go to these wedding trade shows and market to these event planners. And I had done all this research on the back end, you know, to support that. And right at the time when COVID was hitting was when we were really talking about asking our audience what they needed from us. And I had been dabbling in greeting cards because we just got out of the holiday season from 2019, and I had some cards here locally. And so I had already had an exercise where I walked into the card shop and I asked them, like, what do you need? Like, what kind of cards do you need? And that created such a great conversation that I actually went onto my Instagram and I just talked to my audience and I said, what do you need from me right now?
Yes.
And a lot of the answers I got were things like, you know, condolence cards and like ways to stay connected and, you know, fun calligraphy videos people love to watch because they're calming.
Yeah.
And I just made a list and I just went through and was like, okay, I'm going to try to come here every day and serve you with something that helps you pull away a little bit from the ugliness that's happening right now, but also saddle up closer to the people who matter to you. And from that, I was born probably my favorite thing that I'm ever going to do. I know it. It's just my favorite thing, which is the Better Mail Club, where everyone who joins gets 3 cards that I make just for that month. They're all limited edition on my letterpress. And 3 stamps. So they don't have to do anything, but just fill them out and send them and stay connected and nurture and deepen their relationships with their friends and loved ones. And I'm like shaking right now because the response I've gotten back, like the power of writing a letter, it doesn't have to be long. It could be like 5 words. But the power is so deep. And then I have the people tell me on the back end, or I'll have the receiver of the card tag me in a post where they're talking about it, how much it's brightened their day. It's like sailing me emotionally every day. I love it so much.
I honestly, I get emotional when I think about it and just feeling how in alignment you are and how important this is. And, you know, we talk about it in the program, like really, this is about changing the whole paradigm, right? It's really, yes, we're going to give you the steps. And we do talk about asking your audience what they need, which is so crucial, right? And people just simply forget to do that, right? So we take guesses and then things don't work and we're like, oh, darn it. It's like, just ask them, right? Make it about that radical empathy. But the biggest piece is the not waiting, but just asking these questions like, what would really light me up? What would it be if I could just have a blank canvas and anything goes and I can listen to what people need and then sit with it and get that divine download? What could I create? Right? Like, I feel like for me in my career, it's always about like, when I get that hit of like, I can go and make a thing, like I could build a podcast, I can create this program, I can whatever, I'm going to write a whole series of music. It's all going to be about mindfulness. And then we're going to create this pilot all for this. And I can think of like the dolls that will come out of it and the merch and the phrases and the logos and the concerts we'll bring together for people that are all about these good vibes. Like when you get busy, like making these worlds in your mind, and then you actually see it happen, right? It is just so awesome. You are truly so creative. Like that is really like making something from nothing. The Better Mail Club. It's like, how has that not been a thing forever? And during COVID, like, yes, like I remember like, what does it feel like to go to the mailbox and like bills, Bed Bath and Beyond. All right. And then there's like one actual, like just an envelope and it's from someone and you go, oh, like I feel so seen right now. Yes. Like of all the times, it's like turn it on its head. Like maybe, just maybe Jillian realized like COVID's the best time in the world for her to serve because this is when people are socially distant. And when is it a better moment to send someone something handwritten, right? It's amazing. So you created it and there's like a membership to it. So how many people are now a part of this Better Mail Club?
We have 50 people in the Better Mail Club, which is huge for me because I literally started this 3 months ago, like officially announced it to the world 3 months ago. And my goal is to hit 500, and we're tying it in with, supporting the post office. And I have a whole lovely breakdown of how much money we get to contribute to the post office every month by just being a part of this club. But I love what you're talking about is like, for me, it was a mindset shift, 100%. And when I didn't realize how much I didn't know about myself before Made to Do This. When I was in the 5-day challenge, I actually was over in Europe on a work trip.
Yeah.
And it's like the middle of the night. I'm watching your video at like 2 a.m. And you're talking about the Made to Do This program, and I'm sitting on the floor and I'm like channeling all of my energy into my phone, trying to like get my boyfriend to text me back to like give me the permission to spend my money to do this program. And I just realized this is an opportunity for me to grow myself. And I stopped waiting for the text message, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to sign up for the program. I'm going to show up every day, and I'm going to figure out what I've got to do to get to the place I want to be. And I'm so glad I did that, because much like Sadie, I had a plan. And I was ready to carry it out, and the world threw me a wrench. And had I not been in that program, I know I would have crawled under my blanket and just stuck with my career that I was in, that I wasn't super happy with, for another 10 years, maybe. I wouldn't have come out. And I was just so happy to be a part of the community, which was priceless, still priceless to me. I work with Sadie, I work with Adrian, I work with Katie, I work with like every girl in that group.
The best.
It literally brought me to a point where I now have the tools. Whatever the world is going to throw at me, I am prepared to reevaluate and reassess and make a new plan. And to me, that is the strength I needed.
It's just so epic. Like, it's just nothing less than amazing. And I have my own edge, right? I have my own upper limit, right? We all have it, right? I'm sure Oprah has those moments too. In fact, I know she does, because actually Martha Beck said to me when she was on the podcast, I said, well, what about Oprah? And she was like, she has those moments. That's why she calls me. Like, she's like everyone else, trying to get to her potential. So she's got her test. So I've got my own. And you know why I can recommit myself to such a big mission, right? It's like I take on a pretty big mission. I'm like, let's do this. I know we can do this, right? And I believe it. It's because I'm certain of how powerful you are. So my job is to just unhinge you from all the garbage that's been in your way of clear seeing, right? So if I can unhinge you from all those things that condition you to not think out of the box, that condition you to not reach out and ask those questions to those other humans, because it's so scary to ask a question, or it's so scary to put yourself out there and take the permission to go live and take a stand and be creative, right? If I can just unhinge you from that, you're magic, you're stardust. We're all made of the same source energy, which is the creator of this universe. So it's like, I just got to unhinge you from that. And it's like, I'm just going to watch you go, and to see you like, just as you just walked us through that story, because I know that you were over there watching in the middle of the night. I remember that. And then here you are, like where you are now. Because I do remember you also saying you had tried to sell greeting cards before, right? Hadn't you posted stuff on Instagram? You tried, and like nothing had sold, right?
Yeah.
This
and
is
honestly,
like years ago or a year ago, whenever it was prior to the.
And it just didn't resonate with me. Honestly, like I never really thought products in any way were going to resonate with me, but it was finding the purpose underneath
Yeah,
them,
the purpose.
which I never would have found had I not had the mindset to ask my audience what they needed from me and create this genuine connection between what I'm providing them and what they're getting out of it.
It's just so awesome. I have to be a part of the Better Mail Club, and you need to post. Like, by the way, all of you are so the right people to do the jobs you're doing. So like, you all need to post the links to what you're doing, and we'll for sure share them again, because everybody needs all of you for the specific things you do. But I want to be a part of that Better Mail Club. We're going to come back. That was amazing. You're such a bright light. Okay. So Nadine, can you tell us a little bit about your awesome story? Like, it just doesn't end. Like, it's like, is there more? Yes, there's more. Tell us a little bit about you and what you've been doing.
Sure. So first I want to say, if you hear any background noise, it's because my family bought an Airstream and we've been road tripping. So we are in the middle of Wisconsin right now.
I love that. I love that.
And
Fresh air.
as a result of the program, right? We never would have been able to do this had I not taken your coaching program. So first of all, watching Jill, watching Sadie, watching the rest of the group and seeing their growth has been so incredible. Like, one of the writing courses that I lead, I had 3 of our Made to Do This people on there. I had Gal King, I had Jayati, I had Kelly Simmons. It's so great to have them all on. So
love them. Yeah.
So I am an author and I'm a writing coach, and I help women write and publish their books and stories. But also, as a result of your program, Kathy, I now help women authors build their platforms, because that was one of the major things that women writers were like, okay, I wrote the book, and now hopefully somebody else will do the job of promoting me and getting my work out there and building the publicity around me.
Right.
And I'm like, no, actually, that's on you, sadly. So here's how you do it. So I came to your program, Kathy, because I was individually coaching women and I was tapped out. I was tapped out on time, right? There are only certain hours in a week, and I could only do work with one person at a time. I felt like I wasn't charging enough. I felt like there was so much potential and I could see it, but I just didn't know how I could possibly accomplish it. And really what put me over the edge, where I was just like, I have to do this, even though financially I wasn't sure, like, is this feasible? Is this the right choice? The thing that pushed me over was, of course, your challenge just made me so inspired. I hadn't felt that way in so long. And I was like, if someone is making me feel this way with a 5-day challenge, I can't imagine what she'll do over 12 weeks. So first it was the fire. And then everything that was in addition to that, I was like, okay, I'm going to have accountability coaches, and there are these bonus sessions, and like, this would be ridiculous not to do it. It got to the point where I was like, if I don't do this, then something's wrong. And so I signed up, and I am so grateful, because I just originally was hoping I would find a better way to like run my business and be able to charge more. But because of you, I had so many light bulb moments. So for a long time, I had this weird idea where, people go to the gym in the morning to exercise, right? And I always felt so lonely as a writer. And I just felt like writers need workouts too, like writing workouts. And I would just call it that to my friends. I would say, I really one day want to have like a writer workout. Like, I want to have like a gym for writers where we get together, we write together, and then we share our work with each other on a regular basis. And so as a result of your program, I created a writer workout membership. We meet every Monday. I get on Zoom. We have a craft talk. I get them inspired. I do like scene development visualizations with them. We write together for 25 minutes, and then we share our work with each other. And I have 30 members in the group, and it's amazing. They all love each other now. They're their own community. It's incredible. They publish their stories. Now they're getting traction. It's just this ripple effect, and it's so incredible to watch. And then as a result of working with you, you were like, what about like publicity in your PJs, right? Because I was saying that I had all these authors who wrote their books and they were ready to publish them. And they were like, oh, great. Now COVID, like I finally achieved my writing dream. And now I can't go into a bookstore and read my work. I can't go on tour. I can't do anything. What do I do? So you coached me through this beautiful idea, which is now my signature program. It's the author activator program. I activate authors to build their platforms authentically. That's the key thing. Like people were just feeling like, I'm an introverted author. This feels so icky. I don't like what? And I guide them on how to do it authentically. And I'm now launching my next group. I have a level 1, a level 2. I'm launching my fall cohort. It's become like the thing that I do because of you. I'm so grateful for you. I can't even put it into words.
I'm so grateful for you. And you guys are just like, I can't not cry. I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, you know how I feel like we're the same, right? Like we always say, like we're each other's people. Like if we met at summer camp, we'd be like, oh, you're my person. Thank God there's somebody real and vulnerable, right? Like I feel like we were the kids who like, we tolerated high school. Like it was okay. We like pretended that we really got along with all these people, but we're like, I'm super sensitive and vulnerable. And like, I wear my heart on my sleeve and I'm just like trying to get through with all this stuff and all these gossipy people or whatever it is. Everyone's trying to be cool. And I'm just in here somewhere. Right. And then we find each other in this really big world. And the fact that I get to have you guys, it's like I do this program and then it calls in like my best friends. It's like, you're the people I want to share everything with, right? And I'm so invested in you. And then to see you win, it's the best feeling in the world. It's like, who else should win if not you guys? Like who should be winning? You should be winning because every word that you just said, every word Jillian said, everything Sadie just said, it's like, you're not just doing this work, just getting you, just the world getting a glimpse of you, just put such beauty in the world. There's no agenda. There's nothing hidden around the corner. It's just like, I want to show up here and I want to help you show up. And so I love that I get to like light your spark a little brighter because how can you not be doing this? I remember when you and I talked and I'm like getting into it with you and I was like, you're sitting on gold right now, you know, like, and I'm like looking at your face and like, God gave you like this face and these words, and you're just so giving. And I'm like, no, you're the one who people want to learn this from. Let's do this. So to see how you've grown and you just took your seat, like, boy, did you just, you know what it is with all three of you? You're so coachable because like, you're so brave. You're so brave. Like you're so ready to be like, all right, let's do this. You know, I get frustrated sometimes because people in my own family, you know how this is, like they have me around all the time. And like, they're just really, really married to the story, right? Like I can't get them unstuck. I'm like, I don't get it. Like with my people, I just like, I say it, they get the breakthrough and then boom, like they're in action. I'm like, why can't you do that? Like, why do you have to be married to this pain? Let's let it go, you know? So I'm just so in awe. I'm so in awe. And what's really cool is that you do spend time with each other and you stay together after. So what happens is having that group of like-minded people who are like, I'm here for the up level. Like I'm in this, like, so you keep each other sort of like playing a bigger game. And I think you feed off of each other and support each other. And then you have this like super clear energy around you. You know, it's like, you're just calling in just such a different vibe. And I watch you do that for each other the whole time. I'm always saying that in the program. I'm like, thank you for holding space like this, because the way that you guys hold space for each other, I don't do that by myself. I mean, I am so grateful. And you guys know this, once in a while, it's very rare. I don't even think you'd be aware of it, but if somebody's energy is not feeling aligned, we will politely behind the scenes, you know, go to that person and respectfully ask them to step away from the program because the energy is so powerful and it is so sacred. So, I mean, I love you guys so much. I wish I could have you over. But I love that you are you and that you're doing your thing in the world. And it's just going to keep, I mean, it's only been a few months, so it's only just going to keep rippling. And if there's any way I can keep supporting you, like I'm so here for that. I want to answer some of the questions for some people who are I want to tell you the three biggest things that come up in people's stuff. The first, of course, is we all have a money thing. I mean, money is so tied to so much. And people really, really believe, and I don't blame them, right? Like I can kind of remember what it's like to be in that alternate universe where you're like, the facts are, I cannot afford to do it. I cannot afford it. And these are the facts, right? And why do we have beliefs? Because we believe that the past will predict the future, right? So if we haven't made money, we believe that we won't. If we don't really believe that we're confident enough or worthy enough to put an offer out, why would we think we'd be able to just generate money? Why would we think that we've been able to generate money if we tried something in the past and that didn't work, right? So and then there's just like, we look at a bank account and we say like, oh, this says, a certain amount of money, and like, it's just not there. The money is not there. So we kind of believe that it's not there in the universe, right? Like no one else has the money, or no one's going to pay me for this thing. So what do you think about that? Because that's a pretty big one to sort of untether for people. And I'm just curious if you each, or one of you, whoever wants to just share, if someone says, I can't afford to do this program, like what comes up for you?
Can I
Yeah.
chime in? Because I was one of those people. I was raised very frugally, and it was like, invest what? In me, right? And I put it on a credit card, and which I was always advised not to do growing up,
Right.
no credit cards. But as a result, so think about this, all through COVID, even if my husband's worried about losing his job, it doesn't matter because we are foolproof now. So I don't have to sit here in fear if he might lose his job, that we have to worry about our house foreclosing or something like that. We don't have to worry now because of this. So the investment I gained back immediately. And on top of that, I get to give scholarships to writers in need. So the ripple effect continues. So if you are one of those people who's just like, I don't know, I really can't afford this, I hear you. I promise you, if you put the time and effort into it, it will rejuvenate and come back to you so many times. It multiplies and then it goes out to other people. So I'm so glad I made the investment.
Oh my God. I didn't even know the detail of that, but I mean, wow, that's amazing. What a gift you're giving me today. I feel like this is like Christmas and my birthday. It's like everything stacked up, because that's exactly what I want, right? That's what I set out to do. And then to see it happen, it's just the coolest thing ever. Does anyone else want to share? And you don't have to, but that's the question. Yeah,
I'll
Sadie.
share. I think I have 10 times my investment. I actually stopped keeping track. All I know is that like I've been making money every month and we pay our bills, right? So, and like I quit my job, by the way. So I had a goal of like, okay, I want to quit my job by July of this year. And I think I put my 2-week notice in like August, on like August 20th, maybe. And then my boss came back to me and was like, oh, actually, I really need you. So you're only going to work an hour a day, but I'm going to pay you the same amount. Does that sound good? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. So let's do that. Like,
I remember that.
awesome.
Yeah, I remember you telling us that. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So that was really cool. And then like the thing about money is it's just energy, right? And the reason that you need to spend money to get to the next level is because then there's energy involved in it, right? It's an exchange of energy. I just listened to your podcast you did with James Wedmore. It was like a couple of years ago, but we recently become fans of him. So I listened to it, and he talks about like, if you don't exchange energy, if the energy is not equal, it doesn't work, right? Just nothing falls into place. And the cool thing about spending the money on it is like, I'm a part of a bunch of free Facebook groups, a bunch of free business Facebook groups, including yours, and yours is awesome. But I would say like the next level was the Made to Do This Facebook group, because as soon as I had a question, someone was there to help me through it. As soon as someone else had a question, I was ready to go through it, because we're all invested in it with our energy, with our money, which is energy. And then also when you raise your energy to that point and you help other people energetically, that energy comes back to you. And it's just, it's a hard concept to understand at first, but once you start doing it and once you see the magic, you'll get it. So like, you just have to remember that investing your energy is the same as investing your money.
Yeah. That's so, what's interesting is that Gina DeVee, who is a good friend of mine, she coached Jen Sincero before she wrote You Are a Badass. Jen Sincero was living in a garage eating cans of tuna fish. So she said to me, what's so crazy is for Gina, like Gina also had her hero's journey, where at first she was a marriage family therapist, scraping quarters together. Like literally, this is a woman who like, I did the thing, right? I got the degree, I have the office, I do couples counseling. She was making like $40 an hour on a good day, and then had a sliding scale. And she said what was so fascinating to her is how people would like barely show up for therapy, right? Like they're not going to pay. Can you give it to me for less? And then as soon as they decided to get a divorce, boom, they had $10,000 retainer for the divorce attorney. And she got to a point one day, she said, I just broke down and cried. And I was like, it's amazing how you have no money to work on your marriage. But when you decide to leave that woman, you're going to find $10,000. It gives me the chills. And she said, I just broke my heart when I really got that. Because when we want to find that money, boy, will we find that money. But will we find it to invest in the actual healing of our life? No, we won't. And it's in those times where we go, I can't afford it. And the divorce rate is through the roof, right? And those divorce attorneys, I mean, look, God bless them. There are times where people are in an abusive situation. You need a good divorce attorney. I'm not saying there's no need for it, but it's just fascinating, right? It's just fascinating. And that exchange of the energy, you know, yeah, you do get certainly a different level of support when you're in a free Facebook group or watching free YouTube videos than when you're like showing up and you have skin in the game. We can go on to the next question unless Jillian, you feel like you have something to share.
Well, I feel like between you and Sadie, I mean, you guys just crushed what I was going to say, because I am currently reading Jen's book, You Are a Badass at Making Money. And I'm like, yes, 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 and yes. It's all about investing in yourself. And I have some friends who their courses are based on self-improvement, and we constantly brainstorm just the fact that the thing people will have the hardest time investing in is themselves. Yeah. And for me, I had that moment. I was sitting on the floor. It was such a big risk. If you told me that it was $3,000 to go to a Taylor Swift concert, I'd have my credit card out in a heartbeat, because I love that girl and I love live music. But when you tell me it's $3,000 to invest in myself, to bring myself up to the next level, I'm suddenly like, oh, I don't make enough for that. I don't make enough for that. But I turned that voice off and I said, you know what? I'm going to figure it out. I am going to pull out my credit card and I'm going to figure it out. And you know what I did? And I did it really quickly and it felt great.
It's so true. It's so true. I see that with myself, with my kids. Like my kids ask me for stuff. Mom, I want a new scooter, but you know what I mean? And now, thank God, right? I want all of you to, you know, I don't feel it really. I don't feel any of that stuff, right? Because we have so much, which is, thank God. But there was a time where like I would put everybody in front of myself, and then you look at your month and you're like, wait, I said I didn't have the money to invest in my coach and my therapist or whatever, but like, boy, I wound up spending this money on 3 t-shirts I didn't need, or on this, whatever it was, that's not really about showing up for me in the deepest way. The other thing that comes up for people is I'm just not ready. Like I'm not ready. And a lot of people feel, and I'm curious what you think about this, they really feel convinced that if I don't know what I want to do, like if I'm not clear, I'm not going to invest, because 12 weeks goes by like that. And I won't do anything with it because I don't have clarity, right? I don't have clarity. And what I need, people think I need to go get the clarity before I do the program. So I need to go figure myself out and start something. And then once I'm started, I'll do the business just to grow it. And I'll do this work to grow it. What do you think about that? I'm not ready. And do you think that, you know, this program is good for someone who doesn't know what they want to do? Should you have that all figured out? Should you have the business first? What do you guys think about that?
So I'll pick this one up first. I think I see people in a few different tanks, right? There's the people who have the long list of stuff that they could write a list all day long of stuff they want to do. And then there's people who like, they're just totally uncertain. Like you can ask them, just totally uncertain. And then there's someone like I was going into the program where I had a plan.
Oh yeah.
And I thought I absolutely knew what I was going to do. And truth be told, all 3 of those groups of people need the same foundational support, which is really getting in touch with yourself, figuring out what demons you need to stare in the face, and figuring, you know, looking at your young 7-year-old self, talking to her, nurturing her, figuring out what was she after, what would she be proud of, and then doing the work week by week to build something that's around that. I think no matter where you are in the journey, you need that. You need that even if you're already making money from your business, you need that. Because at some point in time, you know, you'll want to grow your business, or you'll want to hire people on. And if you don't know who you are at a core, you don't know who your business is at a core. And so I found so much value there. And obviously, because I had to do a bit of a pivot as well. So I don't think you need a plan. I think it's actually better if you don't have a plan, because you really get to use this time to explore who you are and what you can really bring to the world.
I love that. Wow.
I agree. I so agree with Jill, because I thought I knew what I wanted to do. But I mean, think about plans. Could anyone have predicted 2020? Could anyone have predicted the pandemic? I had plans to do in-person retreats with my chef husband, right? And that changed. So even those who go in with a plan will have light bulb moments that they never could have expected. So even sometimes it's better to go in when you don't have any clue what you might do, because you're open. You are like a sponge open to the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, I don't want to cut you off, Sadie, but you don't have to, this is not like you have to answer every question. So I mean, we've talked about this so much, but I really feel that the clarity comes from the action. And it's just amazing how when we are willing to let go of the plan and step into the unknown, oh, that's when like the best divine downloads come in, right? It's like, we just open up. It's like, oh my God, I never thought of, like Katie Moreland said this yesterday. She was like, I came in with one idea. I had this like side business. I'm a maker. Next thing I know, I'm wearing a shirt that says I'm a hot mess. And she says, Kathy looks at me and says, tell me about this. And I say, well, I've been gathering women together on Zoom during COVID. She's like, I created this thing called Mommy Needs a Laugh. There's 4,000 members in it now. She's like, Kath, I'm making so much money. Like I can't even, I have a VIP level. There's this, there's that. And she's like, and I wouldn't have even seen it, but like, yeah, I go to comedy clubs. Yeah. I want to gather women together. And then through COVID, I realized that's what people need right now from me. Right. So the clarity is totally in taking that path of being willing to step into the unknown, and then the magic starts to come in. It's the beginner's mind. I think one thing that came up yesterday is that one of the girls on the call was saying what's really interesting is that people will spend money on a college course. You know, they'll spend money, get that 4-year degree. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Although at this point, being an entrepreneur and having conversations with people like James Wedmore, having conversations with people like Barbara Corcoran, I'm like, I don't know how I really feel. My husband and I debated. I'm like, I don't know if I want my kids for sure to go to college, because so much is in the doing, right? Bobby Brown was like, I went to Emerson, but then I wanted to be a makeup artist. And I'm like, I'm just gonna start making cold calls. Like I'm gonna start, you know, as a waitress after college she's like, I had an idea for one lipstick and I just started with that and started getting the confidence and breaking through that up level. Like, I just don't know how much college is really about your career. I think college is more about like, you meet that really cute guy, you get to meet some, you know, awesome humans, you read some good books. Like it's more for the experience, I think, of like being in the dorm and being on your own. I don't know how much it's about your career, because it's very theoretical, right? Like you sit in a college class and there's a case study about such and such, and we're learning general techniques about advertising, and we're hearing about anthropology, and it's like, this is just interesting. Like it's interesting information. But in our program, and I don't know how you feel about this, but like I've really done my absolute best to look at the actual steps that it's taken me to build a business, to start to make money, and said, we are going to hold your feet to the fire. This is your homework this week. You have to go do this. And it's not theory. It's like, this is the steps. And so I wonder what about that process, that method? Because everyone has a different method, right? You know me, I'm not into webinars, I'm not into funnels. I have my method. And it's very sort of like what I think is the basics to building an authentic business based around that empathy. What about that process helped crystallize for you how to actually put this stuff into play? Does anyone want to share?
I will. I said it earlier, but the homework was to go on our Instagram and ask our audience what they needed. Yeah. My whole business is from that homework assignment. The money that comes in every month is from that homework assignment. But I 100% agree with you, because you know, we have our pod from our group, we all still meet. And
I love that.
any of us who took action, you could tell where we are versus a few of us who took action, but in a much slower way, maybe because they weren't sure, should I go this road, should I go that road? But just taking the action gives you an answer. It lets you know, yes, this is for me. No, this is not for me. Yes, there's an audience for this. No, there's not an audience for this. But without actually doing the action, like you could try to research the heck out of it. You could journal the heck out of it.
Right.
You could do all that stuff, but until you make something or until you put an offer in front of somebody, you won't have any answers. And so for me, having that homework and the incentive to do the homework and to show up every week and get it done, I just would not be here. I would not be here. I wouldn't have my business. I wouldn't have, you know, a projection for what the end of 2020 is going to look like the way that I feel like I deserve to have it. And it's all from that process of taking action.
I love that. Go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No,
I was just going to say, I completely agree that same assignment, those implementation moments were huge. I got an MFA in creative writing and none of my college professors ever said, now I'm going to teach you how to make money as a writer. Like no one ever taught that course. And it's mind blowing. But the thing I think that was a nugget that I loved from you, Kathy, was that you don't have to have 10,000 followers. What you helped us do was take what we already had. And that was so refreshing. I was terrified. Like I'm an introvert at heart. I didn't want to go out and find 100,000 followers.
Yeah, a lot.
And what you had was you were reminding us of the community that we already have, that we could tap into and then grow from there. So the majority of the business that I get is from my lovely community of email lists, of my email list. Like that is what I base all of my business off of, is my growing email list that grows authentically. And that's what I started with, because you had an implementation moment where it's like, okay, email your group, email the people you know, message them, what do you need? And it was like, oh, duh.
Yeah.
We can do that. Oh yeah. So most of what we have is already right there within us. And that was so refreshing to hear.
Oh, I love that you said that. And I so agree with that. Boy, do I agree with that, because I think, you know, it's always these stories we're committed to that determine the actions we take. And when you have a belief that in order to be successful, you would first need to build your email list to 100,000. You would first need to have 50,000 people at least on your Instagram. It's like, I'm done. I'm out. Like, I don't want to even have to, first, I don't want to wait that long. Second, I don't even know how to get 6 comments on my post, let alone try to build this thing. So it feels really defeating. And I'm always about like, just take messy action, right? And just like, be the girl next door, right? Don't try to worry about smooth copy, like be a human being, right? Make the relationship, and you already have relationships, right? And each one of those people knows on average 400 people. So if each one of those people you serve told one person, right, you just doubled the amount of clients you have, right? And it starts to grow. And it really is about the quality of the intimacy, right? And you guys are so good at it because it's so obvious how real and genuine you are, right? So that creates intimacy, which makes people say like, I just like her. Who do people buy from? People they like and they trust you. And then they're like, I want to tell my friend about you, right? And how do you think all these people who are sole proprietors who have shops on Main Street, they're not worried so much about followers. They just build a really good store, serve one person a good cup of coffee every day. And like there's an ice cream store where we just moved back to where I grew up in South Florida. My mom's like, did you see the guy at the ice cream store? His dad, you know, he's still there. I go, yeah, he's been there 42 years. Like he's been there longer than I've been alive. I go, that little ice cream store, you know, he just makes that relationship. She goes, what a good business. Like it's been sitting there, that same shop in the same place for 42 years. One cone at a time, right? One cone at a time. And it's now supporting his family, his brother's family, their kids. It's just so cool. I love everything that you guys are saying. And it's just such a beyond the greatest gift to be with you, to see you being you. And it's so generous of you to make me feel seen. So I just really don't even have the words that would communicate the kind of thank you that I want to say, but I'm so appreciative and grateful for you. And I don't want it to end. So I actually just realized on the spot, again, you get new ideas from doing things. Like, we should have meetups for all of the alumni, like every, I don't know, 6 months or so, even after the program, to do these check-ins, because it's so fun. And it feels so good. And I want it, because I want to know where you are, because I miss you. I mean, I see you a little bit in my DMs. Sometimes we talk on Instagram, but I want this. So this was so good. I want to remind everybody who's watching that the bonuses did expire. Last night we had a bunch of bonuses. We had the Martha Beck bonus expired, and that's a bummer. And there was a few other things like the 3 months of the Arrive, but I'm going to offer 2 new bonuses that are going to expire tomorrow night at midnight. And they are both around manifestation and money. And one of them is a session with Gina DeVee, who is Jen Sincero's coach. She's one of my really close friends. She's going to come and do a session with you guys. And I feel like all of you who've done all these extra things, you should be able to get in on all these bonuses. So like, there, you got all the bonuses. Why not? I want you in there anyway. So I don't want to say something in front of you and be like, you can't come. Like, you're in. You guys come to those. So Gina will come in and talk about, how to really just create like the things you truly desire. I think she's one of the best at it. And in that book, right, if you go to Jen Sincero's book, You Are Bad at Making Money, she dedicates it to one person. And of course, I highlighted it, so you probably can't even read it. But it says, to Gina DeVee. To Gina DeVee, whose wise guidance, loyal friendship, and relentless ass kicking helped me out of the garage and into a whole new financial reality. So Gina coached Jen, and she'll be there to coach you guys. So you didn't miss out on that bonus. That's a new one. And by the way, anyone who already signed up, you'll get that too. So if you sign up by tomorrow night, you'll get that call with her, which will be just really pretty epic, and it'll be on Zoom. And everything, by the way, that we do once you're in the program is on Zoom. So everybody here can tell you it's a more intimate situation than this. I also want to give some love to the winners. I'm going to announce the winners right now. So those of you who did your homework that was due today for the challenge, there's 3 winners: Melanie Fox, Tina Page, and Amy Fowler. And congrats to you guys. That's awesome. You guys won all those cool things that we put, all those prizes, but you also, Melanie won a full scholarship. That's amazing. And Tina Page and Amy Fowler, you just won 50% scholarships. I hope you guys can put that to good use. Welcome to the community. That's so, so cool. And everybody else. And by the way, if you already signed up, we'll just refund you. Those of you who just won a scholarship, we always do that. The way we pick it is super random. And so we will do another call tomorrow at noon. Are you guys enjoying these calls? I love doing these calls personally. We'll do another call tomorrow with more special guests. And if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. My team is here. The mentors are here. Even some of our past students have been in the group. They might be able to answer your questions. But we're here for this experience. It's been such a pleasure. And we will have this new bonus with Gina. So if you sign up by tomorrow night, you'll get that as well as all the other things. And remember that we do have 3 guest expert sessions in the Made to Do This program, as we do every time. One is with Susie Moore, who also teaches something similar to what Nadine does, but different. Nadine really takes authors and it's intimate, and she helps them grow in such a beautiful way. And you're in this smaller cohort. Susie has a big course called 5 Minutes to Famous, where she helps you get publicity. She's going to do one call. In fact, that one call might make you realize why you want to go to Nadine and go deeper on that work, but it's going to be awesome. She's going to teach you how to get some guest posts. If you want to get your stuff in other people's magazines, she's going to do that. That comes with Made to Do This. Also, there'll be a call with Amber Lillystrom, whose birthday is today. She's one of my closest friends, and she's built a beautiful community on Instagram, about 180,000 or so, really engaged community, which is what matters more. And she's a coach, and she's going to talk to you about if you want to create any kind of program or membership, how do you do that? She's done that really in such an authentic way. And then Angie Lee is going to come on and talk about just marketing. And she's a big fan of Seth Godin, and he's sort of her guru, and she's got awesome stuff. She's never spent money on Facebook ads, so she does it really well. So all that comes with Made to Do This. This was such a pleasure, you guys. I adore you. It's so easy to love you. And I think we need to make good on those 2 things I said. One, we need an alumni hangout. We should do that. think it's coming up. We need time because we started our program in January, so it's coming up. And then I'm going to make sure that all of you and the girls who came on yesterday should show up for all our bonus calls. I love you guys. Thank you
That's
guys.
so generous.
For
Thank you, Kathy. You're always so generous. Thank you.
I mean, and I'm going to send you guys something just to say a big thank you for spending your time here today. You didn't have to do that. I love you guys so much. All of you watching, thank you for spending some Sunday time with us. But after party's not over, we'll be back tomorrow at noon. And that bonus with Gina will expire tomorrow at midnight. I love you guys so much. Have a beautiful day and more soon.